I'm on the train on the way to London to go see two of my clients that have worked their absolute socks off to get in the best shape of their life, and today is the day that they complete their photo shoot. I want to show you, number one, what it is taken to get here, so I'm going to be running you through exactly the process and breaking it down for you, and number two, some behind the scenes of the photo shoot so you can see what shape these guys are in and also what a photo shoot is like. Don't get these twisted. These are not bodybuilders. These are not guys who, when they signed up, they thought they were going to do a photo shoot. These are normal people. They're both parents, they're both business owners, and I'm going to show you exactly what it takes to get to this point, to make a transformation like they have, and to show you the behind the scenes of photo shoot day. So stick around. Right, our shoot today is actually just outside of London in a place called New Malden. It's a very interesting place. Been here once before for a photo shoot, and is known as Little Korea because there's something like 20,000 Koreans that live in this little town, and pretty much everything here is Korean. There's just so many Korean restaurants and stuff like that. So the guys will be going out to eat at a Korean restaurant after this, and we'll show you the food. But first, let's get onto the photo shoot day and show you how good these guys look. So a quick few clips, and then we're going to get onto how they did it. So we turned up and met the guys in person. Although I've known these guys for a long time, it's the first time I'm meeting them in person, so I didn't want to have a camera in their face straight away. So yeah, the first thing that we do on photo shoot day is get in there and get a pump on. So as you guys can see, they're just doing some, basic exercises to get a pump on, some press ups, some bicep curls, some lateral raises, stuff like that. And then this is the first sight of what Chris looks like with his kit off, and as you can see, he's pretty happy with it.
My necklace used to sit there on my collarbone.
So how big were you before?
My biggest, I was 44 chest.
And in stone?
In stone, 18 stone was back when I got married, when suitors.
Yeah.
And my heaviest was about 22 stone.
So you're down 10 stone?
Around 10 stone, yeah.
Fucking hell. Feel good?
Very good.
Okay, so at this point, I tried to record testimonials with the guys, and literally the one thing that you don't want to happen happened. My mics didn't record a thing, so you can just imagine Chris here saying really nice things about me, how much of an amazing coach I am, and how much we helped transform his life. Anyway, we then went for some Korean barbecue, which here we are. It was fantastic. I think Chris enjoyed it. Let's get to the next part of the video, guys. How is the food tasting after so many months of dieting hard?
Better than ever. Better than ever.
Going straight to the veins, got a naughty pump on.
I'm gonna start doing some press ups in a minute.
We'll get the camera out again. Okay, so hopefully you agree that those guys absolutely smashed their first photo shoot, and what a transformation that they made. I'm now going to show you how we did it. So these guys are normal people. They have the normal struggles that all of us do, and yet they were able to make such a fantastic transformation. So let's get on to the next part of the video where I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Now, if you're interested as well in your own transformation, then below this video, hit the link. There is 4 weeks of free coaching there waiting for you. It's going to be straight into your inbox, straight into teaching you how to make a transformation around life, just like these guys have. Let's go on to the next part of the video where I'm going to show you exactly how they have done it. Okay guys, so I think it's very easy to look at transformations, other people's transformations, and think, okay, it's all right for them, but you know, I can never do that. And I think that's exactly what these guys would have said before they started with me, before they started this process, and before they've got to where they got to, is they would have said the same thing, that it couldn't be them. So on this video, I want to be showing you how both Chris and Stephen managed to make their transformations, their significant life-changing transformations, how they did it, what they struggled with, their roadblocks before they started, and how we overcame them, so you can get a clear picture and a clear idea of what that looks like. So we're going to start with by going through Chris of his amazing transformation. So this was his start point here. As you can see, it's not like severely overweight or anything, but in his words, he just had a bit of a dad bod. He had those love handles here that he just wanted to get rid of and that he was kind of sick of having, and he knew he could be way better. So if we just have a look at his start point, he hadn't been in what he calls in shape. So he used to have six-pack abs when he was in his 20s. He's now mid-40s, I think 44. He hadn't been in that shape since his 20s, and he's always kind of looked back to that and gone, I used to be in great shape, I used to feel great, I used to, you know, love having my top off and all things like that. And you know, unfortunately over the years, as you know, life has caught up with him, that feeling went away, and he slowly but surely kind of got out of shape compared to where he wanted to be. And you know, with relative good reason, he put his all into building a business. He put his all into managing his family. He's got two young kids. At the time of starting with us, he had a 6-month-old, so was real in the deep end, in the trenches with his partner with that. And he started anyway, okay? Really, really, really important that he started anyway. I think a lot of people look at these reasons and they go, okay, I've got a 6-month-old, I've got businesses that I've got to run. And they go, well, I can't do it now. The stars aren't aligned and I'm going to wait for the perfect time to start. But one bit of advice that I can give you, that every single person I've ever worked with, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of business owners, the successful people do not wait for the perfect time. The successful people do not wait for that right time to start. They realize there isn't going to be a right time. Life is always going to be busy. Life is always going to be chaotic. And you have to just start anyway. With Chris as well, you can see it in his physique, but he has a good base of training in varied disciplines over the years. So, you know, used to play a lot of sports and then got into the gym as well when he was in his 20s. You can see that in his physique, like he always had muscle. You can even see like a bit of delt popping out here. You can see that he does have some quads. Like he had a good base, and you can see that in the transformation that he's made. And overall, the start point, he was just fed up with looking, feeling and performing suboptimally. So it wasn't just the looking thing, it was the feeling and performing. He noticed it was having taken a toll in his business, in his work, and with his family as well, that he just wasn't at his best and he was finding it hard to do all of these things and just keep up with life in general. So that was a big reason as to why he started as well. Let's just come on to here. So I've got a wrong photo there, so we're just zooming in. And then next, the start point. These are some almost direct quotes from Chris. Starting, I was just going back through his forms when he started with us. So I'm super busy. I'm not sure that I have time to actually make this transformation. Business has taken over. I think I travel too much and to get in shape. So just a bit of background on this. Chris lives in Norway, which has its own challenges. Whilst making this transformation was through the winter, so it was over Christmas period. These photos that you see. Norway had, you know, knee-deep snow and minus 20 temperatures through a few months. So when he's going out and getting his steps in, when he has to go to the gym, it's tougher for Chris than it is for most people. And secondly to that, he has a business over here in the UK, so he's constantly travelling back and forth. So it's not just travel, you know, to and from work, it is travel internationally. That was definitely a struggle for Chris and something that we helped him overcome, which I'm going to go through in a second how we do it, because whether you're travelling, you know, from Norway to England, or whether you're travelling from London to Manchester for some networking or for a meeting or to go meet an investor, whatever that might be, you know, you need to understand how to overcome those things. Otherwise, you're never going to make the change. Okay. And then I used to be in the military, so I know I have the discipline, but I'm finding it really hard to implement it around my life. Again, something that's very common is we look back to our old selves, our past selves of, you know, I used to be in fantastic shape. I used to find it easy to stay in shape. I used to be able to go to the gym, but we don't realise life has changed a lot. So when Chris was in the military, of course he's going to find it easy. Of course he had the discipline, but he didn't have kids back then. He didn't have a business to worry about, and things were completely different, right? So roadblocks. you're probably getting this, but time. Chris was a workaholic and would prioritise business and his young family. Traveling for his business makes it very hard to stick to a diet, as I said. And then finally, it was a skill issue as opposed to a will issue. Chris is someone that's very strong-willed. He knew he wanted to make a change. He had tried things to make the change. But ultimately, he couldn't make that change for whatever reason. So although he knew his stuff with his training from back in the day, when he could train 6-7 days of the week, he now only could commit a few hours a week, 3 training sessions, and he felt like he didn't have the system to make it work. Same with his nutrition. Back then, he could eat out of Tupperware 5 times a day. Now he couldn't. He just needed to have a system that actually fit his life. Okay. Yeah. So in regards to his results so far, obviously he's like completely shredded. I mean, you've seen this transformation already. It's absolutely massive. And then you can see pretty much every single piece of his muscle in his back there. His results so far are fantastic. But in terms of body weight, there's 2 ways that you can look at this. Some people are going to look at this and go, wow, he looks bigger, he looks heavier here because he's got so much muscle on his frame. Other people, if you're kind of in the know of how physique transformation and stuff works, will go, okay, he's lost a decent chunk of weight, okay? Well, I can tell you, he lost 7 kg of body fat, which when you look at this, okay, from a trained eye, he's lost more than 7 kilograms of body fat. He's definitely lost more than 7 kilograms of body fat, or around about 10% of his body fat, okay? What that therefore means is that at the same time of losing the body fat, he's put on muscle. Now, why has that happened? For Chris, it's because he knows how to train, but he hasn't trained in a very long time. There will be a phenomenon of muscle memory going on where he's able to regain it relatively quickly. And he trained with good form, good execution, and really importantly, good intensity. So I would get Chris to send me some videos of his training so we could check those things. And all the time, they were very, very good, which therefore meant he could put muscle on at the same time as losing body fat. That, as well as focusing on high quality protein and the right amount of protein, making sure that we're in a calorie deficit to lose the body fat, and then also good quality sleep where possible. And this was difficult with a 6-month-old, of course. So we came and went with that. And not only was it the physical transformation of losing the body fat, he had more energy, more focus, more drive. His confidence was through the roof, which therefore he could put himself into the world in a better way. Like if you're not truly confident in yourself, if you're not really liking what you see in the mirror, if you really don't like yourself with your top off, what happens is you almost like create this shell around you. Whereas when you get in shape, it's better things happen to you, but it's not just out of luck. It is from you're putting yourself in better situations because you are more confident, okay? Better understanding and managing fitness around life. So this is a big one for Chris. Again, he used to know how to do these things around his old life. Now it was teaching him and understanding how he could actually do it around traveling and so on and so forth, and educating him how we can do that. And then looking and feeling 10 years younger. I don't know about you, but he's looking fantastic. Just the change in his face is monumental as well. Like between these two, he's got his jawline back, and you can just see the confidence in his face there in comparison. So how do we do it? First and foremost, we used our flexible freedom formula. This was to allow Chris, essentially our flexible freedom formula is to show you a system that works around your life rather than you having to fit into a system, okay? So most diets, what they do is they set these black and white rules and say, okay, you have to, maybe eat 5 meals a day. You have to cut out carbohydrates. You have to do X, Y, Z. Now, that works until it doesn't, because what happens if you set yourself those rules and then you have to travel from Norway to England, you have to go to business meetings, networking, where there's food put on, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't work. So our flexible freedom formula taught Chris how to actually manage life around his training, his transformation, and everything that he needed, rather than him just trying to fit into something, then inevitably 2, 3, 4 weeks down the line, failing at it, feeling like it's failed and thinking, what's the point? I can't do this anyway. We gave him a flexible freedom formula, which meant he could still eat his favourite foods. He could still have a chaotic social and travel calendar. He could still eat with his family and still make the transformation that he has. And that probably covers the next one as well, which was we built the systems around his life. So one of the things that we look at, like you look at a lot of coaches and whatnot, and they just say, right, everyone has to do a minimum of 10,000 steps. For Chris, this just quite simply wasn't possible. And I don't say that very often. But he had literally knee-deep snow around him for a good few months of his transformation. So those 10,000 steps just weren't possible for a lot of the time. So we made sure that it worked around him specifically, as opposed to it just being, right, here's some rules, go stick to them. So we made sure that it just balanced around that. Then he followed our peak performance first philosophy, really, really important for Chris. As I mentioned, this wasn't all just a physical transformation. This was about how can we get him to his best, how can we get him performing at his best and feeling at his best. So peak performance first is essentially, okay, the transformation is important, but what's more important is getting you performing at your best, getting you switched on for your business, getting you switched on for your family. And we do that by looking at your food choices. So as opposed to it just being calories and macros, we went, okay, what are the food choices that are working well for Chris? What are the food choices that aren't working well? Does he feel great after eating this meal? Does he feel awful after eating this meal? And making sure with trial and error that we made something that really worked for Chris around his life, okay? And in that as well, you know, we look at things like sleep. Even though his sleep quality is never going to be ideal with a 6-month-old baby. Look, I'm sitting here. I have a 8-month-old baby right now. I know sleep is never going to be the best, but there's always things that we can do to, even if we don't improve the time, there's things that we can do to improve the quality that is going to go into that peak performance first philosophy. Next is hard work, communication, and patience. Quite simply, this is on Chris's end and my end. Like, yes, I put in hard work for my clients. Yes, I communicate well with them, but mainly on Chris's end. He worked damn hard, right? He put in reps, literally and figuratively. He turned up when things were hard. He listened to me when I gave him advice on how to be away and travel and network and stuff like that. And he always implemented quickly, right? If I gave him something, he would do it. He also had patience. There was times where Chris was saying, like through the Christmas period. This is about a 6-month transformation, by the way. And through the Christmas period, he was like, okay, I'm not really saying the change that I want to. I said, look, Chris, just wait, it's coming. Just give it time. And he did. Look, some people at that point would have quit there. Now, he had the patience to sort of see the long term, to trust in me, and well, he's reaping the rewards for it now as well. So, really, really important to have that patience, but also that communication, to listen to your coach or listen to the person that's guiding you to get the result that you want. We planned around travel on check-ins. So, for example, if he told me he was going to England for a week, and that was probably once a month or once every 6 weeks or so, we'd make sure that it's planned around it. So, if number one, we wanted him to still lose body fat, and I'm going to come on to that in a second, then we would give him the game plan on how to do that. So literally look at where he's staying in England. We'd have a look at the supermarkets around him. We'd have a look at the restaurants and so on and so forth, and the places that he's going to be with clients and networking and stuff like that, and then teach him how to, or educating him on how to manage his nutrition whilst he's there. But secondly to that, maybe a lot of the time, we didn't actually want him to lose body fat during that time. What I think is a really, really useful step or thing to learn is when to push and when to pull when you're on a diet, okay? So most people think, if I'm on a diet, I have to be on it 24/7. That means I have to be on it every single week. And we push. When things like this come up and get in the way, that makes you feel like you failed, because inevitably you're not going to stick to your diet, right? Because you're away for a week, whether that's a week with the lads, whether it's a week of networking, whatever that might be, right? So I think one of the better things to do, and this has actually been shown to be a very, very successful way of dieting, is schedule in off weeks, schedule in high weeks where you're not going to be dieting. We focus on just maintaining. What this does is give you a mental break in order to just reset and not put too much pressure on yourself while you're away. It gives you a physical break from dieting. Dieting is fatigue inducing, and it just gives you a physical break from that, your body a break. And it means if let's say you did 3 weeks of pushing really hard, 1 week of maintenance, 3 weeks of pushing hard, 1 week of maintenance, you still make really great progress. It's and you know, after 4, 5, 6 months, you're still going to have a absolutely fantastic transformation. And then finally, we broke the all or nothing cycle. So one of the suggestions I made was to keep chocolate in the diet. So Chris previously, when he's tried diets and whatnot, he's always gone all in, and he's always said, you know, we're doing it properly or we're not doing it at all. I suggested keep a bit of chocolate in there, because that's almost going to be your thing of sanity of having it at the end of the day when you are dieting. We need you to be able to enjoy this process, because otherwise we're going to fall off track. I'm just going to go on to Stephen in a second. It's not going to be just as long, because there are going to be parallels between them, so please do stick around. Just a reminder, if you want to be my next success story, hit the link under this video. There's 4 weeks of free coaching in this link. So you you just need to go hit it. That's going to be delivered to your email and take you through that process of exactly a similar process that we're taking people like Chris and Stephen through to get the results that they do. So it's your first 4 weeks, it's to lose 3 to 5 kg and also give you the education how to do it like these guys have, rather than following boring, bland and rubbish training plans that you have done before. Okay. So let's come on to Steve quickly. Like I say, this one isn't going to be just as long because there are a lot of similar themes in here. Steve's transformation is absolutely fantastic. At his heaviest, Steve was 21 stone before he came to us, and he got down around about 8.5, 9 stone down, and just made such a significant transformation. I think one of the things that you could see in this picture is how tight his chain is around his neck here compared to how it is now, like how much body fat he's lost to get to that point. And again, this is him prior to working with us just a couple of years back here, compared to now, where you can literally see abs, you can see the leanness of his shoulder, see the veins in his arms, so on and so forth. So the start point, around 105 kilograms, he was sick of yo-yoing. He'd tried almost every single diet. He's fed up of accepting poor standards of himself, and he knows he needs to be better. He said things like, I work non-stop, when will I have time? The kids and family have to come first, as so many of us say. I would say that myself. I've tried every single diet out there and nothing seems to work or seems to stick for me. And I don't know if I'm too far gone. These are the things that Steve said. One thing that I just want to touch on that one is that the kids and family have to come first. I completely agree. Again, I have a baby, I have a wife. They have to come first. However, if you are not putting yourself first, if you're not looking after yourself, with your training, your nutrition, your sleep, your rest, your recovery, you're not going to be at your best for them. So by putting yourself first, you are putting them first. By putting yourself last, you are not giving the best version of yourself back to them as well. And I think that's really important to remember as a parent, as a father, as a mother, that you need to look after yourself first, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. Steve's roadblocks. Number one, again, time. Between business, family and a busy social life, time is just sparse. Number two, fed up sticking to boring, bland and restrictive diets, and he just had it in his head that he would yo-yo back because it's happened over and over and over and over again. He'd lose 5 kilograms, he'd bounce back up, lose 5 kilograms, bounce back up. And a funny story, as I say, it did happen when he worked with us. So Stephen first came to work with us a few years back. He lost a good amount of weight and then said, okay, I think I'm done. I think I'm ready to go by myself. I said, Steve, I don't think you are. Look, we need to take you for our next phase as well, which is the reverse phase and then the maintenance phase to teach you how to keep it off for good. And he said, no, I'm all good. Look, lo and behold, he came back. He hadn't yo-yoed the whole way, but probably after about a year of not working together, he had put on some of the weight that he had lost and realised what I was saying was very truthful and went, okay, I need your help again. So went through the transformation phase, lost the weight, and we're now going through the phase of teaching him how to maintain. He's having the patience to go through that now as well. And then finally, not confident in the gym. He had done some training before, but typically in his garden with some barbells and stuff like that. So the results so far, a total of 53 kg down, so that is between 8 and 9 stone. I think it's like 8.4. A huge amount. And he has more energy, more focus, more drive, better for work and family, same as Chris that we mentioned. His confidence is up. Now he wants to be topless rather than dreading it. So before in those photos that you'd see in his garden, he had like deep kind of anxiety and shame about taking his top off. Now he's looking forward to it because he's got his abs on show. And he understands how to do things without crash dieting. This is a really important one and a massive win for Steve, is that he gets it. He knows how to lose the weight without doing the silly things that are going to have him end up in the same position as he was before. So again, how do we do it? We learn how nutrition works from the base up. So as opposed to, you look at most diets, they will set you rules. So for example, keto says, okay, you just can't eat carbohydrates. That is your rule. Slim and Well gives you sins and blah, 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 blah. It doesn't give you the education on why those things actually work. And all of those things actually work on a base level in terms of fat loss because they control your calories and put you into a calorie deficit, okay? So we taught Stephen the basics of this, of how calorie deficits work, why we need more protein, and how to work that actually around life. It's all well and good saying it, but when you're, as busy as Steve is, you're a family man, you're a business owner. If you're as busy as Steve is, then it's very difficult to actually put that into practice. So we taught him how nutrition worked from the base up, but also how to implement it into his life. Next was 80 to 90% of whole foods. One of the big problems when Steve came to us was that his nutrition was all over the place. And he was just having so much food from hyper palatable, tasty food that just makes you want to eat more and more and more and more. And we immediately changed that to 80 or 90% whole foods to get him feeling better in the morning than anything, but also to make it easier to control his calories as well. Next was to work with family rather than against. I see this all the time, that people work their diets against their families. Like, you're kind of in the corner just eating chicken, vegetables and misery, and your family's over there eating something together. We make it work for you and the family, so you can eat together still. I think this is really important because it needs to fit into your lifestyle rather than against it. And then again, hard work, communication and patience, the same as Chris. So look, guys, that is how these guys made such significant transformations. You know, such significant transformations like this, and you can do it too. I think too many people think that it's not possible for you, but it absolutely is. If you commit yourself to making the change, maybe outsource, getting some help, getting some support, you can make the change as well. I work with some of the busiest people in the world, so look, if you could see their schedules and their time availability and their calendars, you would take yours right back, and they still manage to make a change. So look, if you want to start your change, in this video right below this is a link for 4 weeks of free coaching. Go hit that. There's no massive upselling or anything like that. Just have a look at the link, and you will learn how to lose your first 3 to 5 kg around the chaos of life. Okay, peace out, guys.